Welcome back to Tiger Isle Second City. This is Chad Brown, also with Dimming Sage Block 9 and 1d8 plus 1 Alina Warps. And today I'm going to try to go through Cleric and its for example type thing as far as what they can do at first level. Now, at first level type thing, which I didn't immediately pull to my side type thing in that type of sense, there is first level here on page 22. I have a blow up of that type thing. That's here. That is first level 0 experience type thing, ending 0. And at first, they identify a cleric on page 32. And now, that's page 32 type thing in that type of sense. That's the gods. And in context, there's some spell description, spontaneous casting, and an actual first level example. But that's hard to see like that type thing in that type of sense. That's a lot of data. I mean, this is, well, bam, type thing. So that's the reason why I blow these things up in cleric description. So now, for example, Josen is a first level cleric of Pelor, chooses good and healing from Pelor's domain options as his 2 domains. He gets the granted powers of both his selected domains. The good domain allows him to cast all spells with the good descriptor plus 1 caster level as if he were a level higher as a cleric, and as a granted power, and it gives him access to protection from evil as a first level domain spell. Healing domain allows him to cast all healing sub-school spells of the Conjuration School at plus 1 cast level as a granted power, and it gives him access to Cure Light Wounds as a first level domain spell. When Josen prepares his spells, he gets 1 first level spell for being a first level cleric. So now they're establishing at the end of that sentence, or near the comma of that sentence type thing, that that's a first level cleric type thing in that type of sense. Now, in that type of thing, if you're in front of, I guess, a Nobel thing or something like that, we're going to realize type thing that we're going to have 3 sub-elements to this type thing in that type of sense, and we're going to match 3 subs to being third level type thing in that type of sense. But those are not actual elements of it. We're going to stay at first level type thing in that type of sense, and it's going to tell us how many spells we could do at first type thing in that type of thing. And so if you end up with 3 spells, then you end up with third level, and third level on page 22 is 3,000 experience type thing in that type of sense. That's the time that you should wait for that spell type thing, and that means. But here, in that type of thing, it says that immediately type thing in that type of sense. So now, that's right. That's when Josen prepares his spells, he gets 1 first level spell for being a first level cleric. That's right there. Now, in that type of sense, that's right when I said that sub-level type thing. That's 1 for being a first level cleric. Now, in that type of thing, that's 1 bonus first level spell for having a high wisdom score. That's at second level at 1,000 experience on page 22. So now you turn to page 22. That's the first table type thing. That's the second table, which is not the abstract. And that's the second table type thing. And that's 1,000 experience type thing. And that's when you get your second spell type thing in that type of sense. And now the description says that he was a first level cleric type thing in that type of sense. And he's still a first level cleric, or she is still a first level cleric. And it says 1 bonus second level spell. And it says first level spell for having a high wisdom score at 15. And that was right after 1 bonus on first level cleric type thing in that type of sense. So that's bonus on first level cleric type thing in that type of sense. So that bonus on it type thing, that's an addition of plus 1 to first level cleric. So they are a second level cleric type thing in that type of sense. And the word bonus type thing is extra, or that's the same stuff that happens within Christmas. I didn't do a blow up of the bonus word type thing, and that means. Now, in that type of thing, in that type of sense, when Josen prepares his spells, he gets 1 first level spell for being a first level cleric. So I'm going to try that again. That's first level cleric type thing, and that means. And that's there. First level cleric. Now, in that type of thing, he gets 1 spell for that type thing in that type of sense. So that's A, gets a first level spell. And then, there, right there type thing, is a period. That's a comma. And so this is now, with it being a period, that's second level type thing in that type of sense. That's in addition to the first. That's in addition to the first. So he's still a first level cleric type thing in that type of sense. So that's B to first level cleric type thing that means. So as soon as he gets the B, that's 1 item, and that's 2 items type thing in that type of sense. And that's 1 and 2 items type thing. So that's the first level at 0 experience, and the second at 1,000 experience type thing in that type of sense. You didn't do anything. Still at first. Still at first. So now in that type of sense, that's a first level cleric type thing, and that means, and it's a real struggle to think that they have that type of bonus on them type thing. I'm not going to use the pink ones. I'm going to go ahead and switch to purple. And that's 1 bonus first level spell for having a high wisdom score type thing, and that's the wisdom score. And so now that's that's 1 bonus here type thing in that type of sense. That's 1 bonus and first level spell for having a high for a first level cleric, and then 1 bonus type thing in there type thing in that type of sense, which is started with first level spell. Now I'm going to do that, and that's first level spell for being a, let's go from the 4s. So now I'm going to do that, and that's for being a first level cleric. So that's for being a first level cleric, and then now that's 1 bonus first level spell for, and that's for having a high wisdom score. Now, that was for being a first level cleric, but the second one didn't say for being a first level cleric, so it went to a second level cleric type thing in that type of sense. So that's second level cleric type thing in that type of thing. That's on page 31, and that's here, and that's 2 plus 1 underneath first type thing. This corresponds here type thing to that, I think. That's first level type thing to 0, and second level to 1,000 experience type thing in that type of sense. So now in that type of thing, that's didn't get a ruler for that either. So that's second to 1,000 type thing in that type of sense. That's second level there in character level, and in level, which is also the spell level type thing. So it's second from underneath the spells type thing in that type of sense. Okay, now from that type thing, that's for being a first level cleric, 1 bonus first level spell for having a high wisdom score, and 1 first level domain spell type thing in that type of sense. And I'm going to start with that one, and 1 first domain spell. And there we go. So from that type thing and that type of thing, that's your spells right there in that type of sense. And so now put that with the yellow one type thing in that type of sense there. And that's here, and that's 1 first level spell from that type thing, and that means. So that's pretty complicated. When it runs together like that, it's really hard to read and decipher for the 1 spell that's going to happen by 3rd level type thing. And it really doesn't. There's 3 in 1st level type, and that means. Now, that's page 183. That's 1st level spells. That is Cure Light Wounds. So we've got 1 for being a first level cleric, and we're going to take Cure Light Wounds type thing in that type of sense. So that's Cure Light Wounds, and there we go. And then for having a high wisdom score, and so we're going to take another one, which is the wisdom is part of your cleric type thing in that type of sense. So the wisdom is part of your cleric along with your spells per day, which is what makes and powers your domain spell type thing. So it's a domain spell type thing in that type of sense. But it said that it was 1 extra wisdom score type thing off of page 8. So on page 8 type thing, that's page 8 at a 15 score here. And with that 15, 14 and 15, 2-1 there type thing up to a 1st. So now that's up to a 1st type thing, and that means, and that's an extra 1st level spell, which is a domain spell type thing, which it isn't. So now you turn back to page 183, which I didn't get blown up type thing in that type of sense, and that's here. That's a Cure Light Wounds again in that. Did I dab that? Alrighty, good. That's Cure Light Wounds, cures 1d8 damage plus 1. So now I want to write that down, and that's Cure Light type thing for the wisdom score, which is the same spell type thing, and that means. Now from that, I'm on 187, and that's Cure Light Wounds as a 1st for my domain, and 1 first domain, and that's Cure Light Wounds type thing there. And this is at 1st level type thing at 0 experience. Alrighty. Now, in that type of sense, we're going to now take this out here. And we're going to go here and here. Alright. Now, from that, that's Cure Light Wounds here. There we go there. That's one standard type thing in that type of sense. And that's a D8. That's the start of the sentence. And I'm going to write the word start here. So that's a D8, cures D8 type thing. And the end of the sentence of damage plus, and I believe plus is equal to the plus on your calculator. But if that makes sense, that's the plus on your calculator type thing and that type of thing. And that's what that's suggesting. That here, that's a plus right there type thing and that type of sense, which is the same as the one on your calculator, and then the 1. So in that type of thing, they're like the flashcard type thing in that type of sense, that A plus B is equal to C, and that's wrong. And so that's plus 1 for B type thing in that type of sense. Don't really need to do the plus 1. And then whatever came, that's the end of the sentence type thing in that type of sense, was the 1. Not the and so the D8 transforms into 1. So there, from that type thing, you add the 1 type thing here, and in that, you write the start of the sentence above the end type thing in that type of sentence. So this is the start, and this is the end. That's a D8 type thing plus 1 type thing in that type of sense. So a Cure Light is a D8 plus 1 right there. Now, in that, you do have other bonuses that I'm not going to get into right now. So it's a D8 plus 1 here, it's a D8 plus 1 here, and a D8 plus 1 here type thing in that type of sense. And that's now a total type thing of 3D8 plus 3. At first level type thing, 0 experience. There is also your caster type thing in that type of sense. This right here, right there, says the word caster level type thing. And in that, that's caster level right there type thing in that type of sense. So now, this caster level is not your spell level type thing, and that means. That's on page 31 type thing in that type of sense. This caster level type thing, there's 2 of them type thing in that type of sense. That's your spells 1 type thing, and this is your level 1 here. This is the one that no one really believes type thing goes into your cleric level type thing in that type of sense. It's just your spell level. This goes from 1 to 2, and that 1 to 2 is that 1,000 experience type thing in that type of sense on page 22 from 0 to 1,000. It says treat your thing in that type of sense an extra caster in the spell type thing. So instead of adding plus 1 in B, you're going to add plus 2 type thing in that type of sense. Now it's a D8 plus 2 type thing in that type of means for that, for all 3 spells. So now, that's Cure Light type thing is going to be a D8 plus 2, D8 plus 2, and a D8 plus 2 type thing in that type of sense. Ritual Blessing type thing in that type of sense goes on the word cure, and it's plus 2, and plus 2 type thing in that type of sense. And Ritual Blessing costs you a character feat, which is first level, that's 0, and 4, 2, and first feat type thing in that type of sense. So first feat, that's a character feat type thing in that type of sense, and that's going to be Ritual Blessing. And I've got to get that type thing in that type of sense, but that's 2, 2, and 2. I do have that type thing, but I'm not trying to make that worse for right now. And so now that's 2, 2, and 2 type thing. That's Ritual Blessing type thing here, and that was the healing domain here type thing in that type of sense, and your cleric level type thing. Now your cleric level type thing in that type of sense is 1 to 1 type thing in that type of sense. That's first level, and from that first level type thing in that type of sense, that first drops in there with that type thing as 1. So your cleric level type thing, that's your cleric level, and that's 1, and it drops down type thing, and then your caster level becomes equal to 1, which it isn't, because you're at first level and rookie. The 1 stays right there, and you put a 0 there instead. So that's right there type thing in that type of sense. Now you put 0 for that type thing because your caster level is a rookie and it's 0 to caster level. Use the 1 instead type thing in that type of sense. Then you add your healing domain to it type thing in that type of sense. Add a +1 caster above the one that you started with on a number line type thing in that type of sense. And I kept the number line here. And there we go. That's a number line here. So now, in that's here. That was at 1 caster, and now it's going to go to 2 caster type thing in that type of sense. And that's right there, and that means. So now, you're at a healing domain, and in that you have a caster level type thing from your cleric level, which is 1 as well. Now from that, that's the description. Both of these were at the end of the sentence type thing in that type of sense, and the start of the sentence type thing was a D8. So a D8 should still go on the top of that type thing in that type of sense from your spell description. So that's a D8 here. I pick that up here. So this gets the ideal type thing that you're going to start, and that's a D8. That's the first thing that you do, and with that, this has 8 sides on it, and which it doesn't type thing in that type of sense. That's a 2, that's an 8, that's a 3, a 5, a 1, and a 7, and a 6, and a 4. But every time I roll it, I always get a 1, so it doesn't matter that it has an 8, and then you don't need that stuff type thing in that type of sense, which is right. So now, in that type of thing, with this system, we have 8 type thing, but so far we have 10, and 10 is not towards the president type thing in that type of sense of a company, and he or she or he type thing, 10 is it's a smaller number than 8 on a number line type thing, which it isn't. 10 is actually bigger than 8. So from that type thing in that type of sense, that's where we are now. We were in that type of thing, we were at 10, and we were at a D8 type thing, and then we add 2 to it type thing in that type of sense, and we do that type thing here, and that's 8 plus 2, which is equal to 10. Now from that ritual blessing type thing, there's the cure word type thing in that type of sense. Now the D8 type thing here, let's put that there, and that there, here. That's ritual blessing type thing, and ritual blessing acts on the D8 type thing in that type of sense. It acts on the word cure. That's cure type thing in that type of sense, but it's said as one word. That's cure right there, and then you have to say the whole thing as cure light wounds. So now that's cure, and that's one word, and then light, there's a second capital letter type thing, 2 capital letters type thing, so 2 words. So that's light, and that's 2, and then that's wounds, and then that's 3 type thing in that type of sense. And now you get a plus 2 on that from ritual blessing type thing in that type of sense. And that's 2 right there from ritual blessing, which you took your first character feat in. And now we put ritual blessing on the end type thing here, and that's 2. So now from that type thing, we had 2 type thing in that type of sense. And now we're going up to 4 type thing in that means. So 1 plus 1 is 1 type thing in that type of sense. So 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, and then 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So now that's 4 type thing in that means, and from 4 in that type thing in that type of sense, we're going to use one more character feat type thing in that type of means. Now we're going to turn back to page 13 type thing in that type of sense, and this one is an extra feat type thing in that type of sense, or in addition type thing in that means, which it isn't. So 1 extra feat at first level for human, that's the first bullet, the second bullet, the third bullet, 1 extra feat at first level. So extra means extra cheese on a pizza, which is the original cheese type thing in that type of sense. And that's then another layer of cheese type thing that means. So an extra feat, that's first type thing in that type of sense. So that's a human feat type thing, and you already took ritual blessing, and that would be sacred healing. Now sacred healing doesn't act on the cure type thing in that type of sense. It acts on, hold on here, see if I can do that. This acts here on that cure light wounds type thing in that type of sense. It doesn't act on the word cure, which is cure is also the D8 type thing in that type of sense, because the D8's in the description and the cure is also in the description. That's the title. They're both the same thing type thing in that type of sense. You roll this one and you roll that one, and you have to roll the 2 bonus type thing in that type of sense, which is also correct. So it's really just like 1 bonus type thing in that means, and it's not. It's auto awarded type thing. But in that type of thing, that's cure type thing, and that's a D8 now type thing. There's a D8 in there, and there's 1 of them. You get a 2 bonus for every 1 D8 that's in there type thing in that type of sense. And if there was 2 D8 like cure moderate type thing in that type thing in that type of sense, I might not have set that aside. There we go. Cure moderate type thing has 2 D8 in front of it, so it would be 2 and then 2. So now the first time type thing there's 1 D8 roll in there, and the second roll gets another 2 on it type thing. Both rolls get a 2 in there in that type of sense, so you're adding an extra 4. But in the cure light type thing, the cure light's got 2 D8 in it, it's got 1 D8, and it gets a bonus of plus 2 on it type thing in that type of sense. So it only gets 2 type thing, not 4 type thing in that type of sense. So it gets better as in the Cure Series has got 3d8 type thing in that type of sense. So now you got 1, 2, and 3. Each roll, each column, which is each row, gets 2 type thing to it type thing in that type of sense. And that's 6. So in that type of thing, those are all the same. So from that type thing, that means that's Cure Light Wounds type thing, and it gains another Sacred Healing, gives it another 2 type thing, and that means. So back to a number line type thing in that type of sense. So we had 2 here. Well, let's just go here. That's 2. That's 4 type thing in that type of sense. And let's see here. That's now another 2 on top of that type thing in that type of sense. That's 6. Now, that was at the start of the sentence type thing in that type of sense. The start of that sentence had a D8 in it. And you'll start thinking to yourself type thing that the rest of this is a calculation. So I'm calculating the result for that roll to be a 6 type thing in that type of sense. And I'm not type thing. It's going to be a D8 and then adding this modifier to it type thing in that type of sense. So this has 8 sides on it type thing in that type of sense. So we're going to now go here and we're going to start the sentence type thing, and we're going to add, hold on here, I'm going to pull these out type thing in that type of sense. And do that in order type thing, because once you don't do them in order, things can get pretty crazy type thing in that type of thing. So now, in that type of thing, that's here, that's a Cure Light type thing, and that means. And now I'm going to start the sentence with a D8 immediately type thing in that type of sense. That's an 8-sided die type thing right then and there, which it isn't type thing, and that means. And that's the part that makes it complicated type thing in that type of sense. So right then and there, that's a D8, and you should resolve that D8 right then, right there type thing in that type of sense. You should wait till you read the whole sentence to resolve it. So that's a D8 type thing, and you get an 8 type thing on it type thing in that type of sense. And that's 8 right then and there. So then you get your 8 type thing in that type of sense, and then it says plus 1, so we're going to move up a step on the number line, 1 type thing, for your Cleric level type thing in that type of sense. So that's 1. And then from that type thing in that type of sense, you're going to now add your caster level of 1 step type thing to that type thing, and that's from the healing domain type thing in that type of sense, with your regular caster level, and that's at 10 type thing that means. And these pins might be a little bit too big for that type thing from that. So now, in that type of thing, that was 8 over here, and then that's 1 plus 1, and then that's now going to be Ritual Blessing type thing in that type of sense, and that's going to be another 2, and now you've got Sacred Healing, which is going to be another 2 type thing in that means. So now here, that's another 2 type thing in that type of sense, and that's going to be up to 14. And that is fairly complicated. Now, that's for 1 Cure Light type thing in that type of sense. This is the Cure Light type thing, but there's each time you cast one, it costs you 3 castings per day type thing in that type of sense. So now you're going to take that out, you're going to put that at 3rd pin type thing in that type of sense, because that was 3 per day castings type thing, and that means. And it was, I think it was 1. There's 1 description, but each description equals 3 castings or 3 per day spells type thing, or 2 per day spells type thing, and that means. And that's 1 spell type thing in that type of sense. And now from that 1 spell in here, that was on 1 number line, then you have your 14 type thing in that type of sense from 1 Cure Light. Now from there type thing in that type of sense, now you're going to add up your bonus. You've got 1 and then 1 plus 1 type thing, which is going to put you at 2. That's your Cleric level plus your caster, your increase in Cleric level from your healing domain. And so now that's 2 type thing in that type of sense. Then you're going to add 2 from it type thing from Ritual Blessing type thing in that type of thing here. And then that's going to make 4. And then I've got 1, 2 left over, which is Sacred Healing type thing in that type of sense. So 4 plus 2. And that's going to make 6. So your bonus type thing is 6. And the 6, your original spell type thing was 8. And so now your result on your spell type thing in that type of sense is 8 plus 6 type thing, and that means, which should make 14. So now we've got 8. Well, let's do our bonuses here. 1 Cleric level plus 1 Domain level type thing. And let me start that over. And memory clear that. And that's 1 Domain level, 1 Cleric level plus 1 Caster level Healing Domain level type thing. And that's 2 plus 2 Ritual Blessing plus 2 Sacred Healing type thing, which is 6. But the start of the sentence now that represented the roll of a die type thing in that type of sense. So I already picked up the die and rolled it type thing, and that means already rolled that type thing in that type of sense. That's what I did. So the number I rolled a 1, so it's not 6. That's a 1 in a total type thing in that type of sense. Don't you add 6 to the end of your roll? So from that type thing in that type of sense, a D8 type thing has 8 sides on it type thing in that type of sense. So you should put the first side on there type thing for your first spell type thing in that type of sense, because it has 1 side type thing in that type of thing. Oh no. And it was at the start of the sentence, and it goes to 8 sides type thing in that type of sense, plus 6 bonus type thing. So it's 8 plus 6 type thing in that type of sense equals 14. Now you had 3 of them type thing, so that's 14 plus 14 plus 14 type thing in that type of sense for A, B, and C, while as a first level cleric type thing in that type of sense, potentially. They could roll a 4, 5, and a 6 type thing in that type of sense. So now that's 14 plus 14, which is 28. And I added 14 twice to itself type thing, so I did 2 of them. And now I got to do another one type thing, so I got to add another 14 to 28. So 28 plus 14 type thing in that type of sense is equal to 42. So using your Cure Light type thing in that type of sense. Now a Cure Minor type thing it does have a 1 point type thing, but it's not like 1 point type thing in that type of sense. It's not out of 8 sides type thing. I think out of the description type thing, a Cure Minor, which is also not on the healing domain list but can be granted to it type thing, actually has a pip type thing in that type of sense. It was once a 1 point thing. So if you represent a 1 on the D8 type thing for a Cure Minor, that means a Cure Minor could have rolled a 4, or could have rolled a 7, or could have rolled an 8 type thing in that type of sense. That's crazy. So it was auto 1 point, but it could have also auto 8 point type thing for it, as the description describes it. And that makes the Cure Minor very difficult type thing, because now I'm going to use the number line for it. That's Cure Minor, cures 1 point of damage type thing. So then you put it on 1 type thing in that type of sense, and in that type thing, that's 1 on a number line, and now it goes up to 8 type thing in that type of sense, because it can roll an 8 type thing in that type of sense. You just roll 8. You can't roll an 8. There's no 8 in the description for it. It just rolls 1. Now, since it doesn't have a roll, there's no roll in it type thing, so Sacred Healing still does apply to it type thing in that type of sense. There has to be a D8 in it, and there isn't one type thing, so there's no Sacred Healing. And there's no healing domain type thing, because it's not even on the chart as a 0 spell type thing in that type of sense. So it is a conjuration casting spell type thing in that type of sense. So that probably still goes through. So it gets an extra pip of 1 on your caster level from it type thing in that type of sense. That is interesting. Let's see here. That's Cure Minor type thing, and it is a conjuration healing spell type thing in that type of sense. So it does actually get a pip to it type thing. So it is 2. Now Sacred Healing didn't go through. There's no D8, and Ritual Blessing should go through on it. So that's another 2 to it. So your Cure Minors can do 4 on it type thing in that type of sense. So now that's I don't think you have any bonus ones type thing. That's back to 31. You've got 3 of them type thing, and they do 4 apiece. So that's 4, 4, and 4, and that's 12, and that's 42 type thing in that type of sense. That's 12 over 42 type thing. From the back side, the 2s match up type thing in that type of sense, but then that's 1 over 4. So it's 12 and 42 type thing total as a first level cleric type thing in that type of sense. And the last time I messed up in my last video type thing, a 14 add-on type thing. So I'm going to do 42 plus 12, and that's 54 at first from the heal bot, from the healing Bender Cleric bot type thing in that type of sense, from Futurama. And that's healing Bender Futurama, and that's 54 heal botting type thing in that type of sense, because he's a robot, so it's like row and then bot type thing in that type of sense. You're going to drop the row and then just make bot type thing in that type of sense and put heal in front of it, so heal bot type thing. Okay, so that's very exciting type thing. That's a cleric in that type of sense at first level type thing. It is possible, and it's in the page on page 32 of the Players Handbook type thing, and it is right here for example type thing, right above spontaneous casting on page 32. On page 33, type thing in that type of sense. Human cleric, ex-cleric, bonus languages, and then that's a cleric may attempt to turn undead a number of times per day equal to 3 plus charisma modifier. And 5 or more ranks in knowledge religion gets a +2 bonus when turning checks against undead. And that's here on page 31. That's the chart type thing for casting. And that's first level casting, which we just covered with turn and rebuke undead. That's spells per day. Over to cleric type thing in that type of sense. And so that's spells per day type thing there. And that's cleric type thing there, type thing in that type of sense. And cleric spells per day. And that's at first level type thing. First level here is 1 type thing there, type thing in that type of sense. Corresponding over to page 22 type thing here. And that's first on table 3-1, and I don't see any experience on it. 2, 0, 1, 0, 0 in a space, and I still don't see it. Character level first, and 0 XP type thing. 4 class ranks, 2, and a first feat type thing in that type of sense. 54, 3 spells at first type thing. Very helpful to the group if you can provide that. If you don't take the healing domain, you take 1 spell of 14 out of your listing type thing. So it is still important to take the healing domain, even though a lot of people feel that it's a caster. +1 type thing is extra shining. Yeah. So in that type of thing, it's really not, when you go through the math of it shining you on type thing, it's quite helpful type thing in multiplicity or stack, or Lego block stack. Players Handbook 2, that's Miniatures Handbook, that's Players Handbook 2. If you look inside the book type thing in that type of sense, which your DM may not allow type thing at the start of a campaign and make it more hedonistic or something, or less unhedonistic, then in that type of thing, that's page 86. That's your ceremony feat to ritual blessing type thing in that type of sense. And that's it, class ranks 4 type thing in that type of sense. Most people don't allow that. If you return back to page 22 of the Player's Handbook, first 0, class skill max ranks at first level is 4 type thing in that type of sense. So that is not an illegal move. Cross class skills are 2 type thing, but you can't have 4 ranks in knowledge religion at first level. If you turn back to page 32 or 31, that's class skills type thing in that type of sense, and that's knowledge to planes. And before that, that's religion based off your intelligence skill, and that's knowledge type thing in that type of sense. But if you turn here, that's wisdom type thing in that type of sense for your casting, wisdom 10 for 0, and wisdom 11 to cast spells type thing in that type of sense. And back again, type thing in that type of sense, that's cleric and spells per day type thing in that type of sense. And the cleric obviously doesn't cast spells type thing. And back on page 183, type thing in that type of sense, that is also still cleric spells type thing in that type of sense, and first level cleric spells who don't cast spells type thing that means. So, and then that type thing, that's ritual blessing, and that's ceremony feats in 86, and in that type of thing, that's divine feats, which were your ceremony feats at the same time, ceremony and divine type thing in that type of sense. And from there type thing, that's sacred healing, the ability to turn and rebuke undead type thing. Back to page 31 type thing in that type of sense for your human feat, and that's right, and that's turn and rebuke undead type thing in that type of sense, and that's the ability to turn undead. And as a swift action, you can spend the turn attempt for the 5 bonus heal check or +2 bonus per die of the D8 on the damage healed in there. But some only have 1 D8 in there type thing in that type of sense. Some have 2, so 2 and that's 4 type thing in that type of sense. But for right now, it's 2 because the Cure Light only has 1 D8 in its spell casting here type thing in that type of sense. So now you take the number type thing, and every time you see this number in front of the D type thing in that type of sense, which is very complicated type thing, you use this number type thing, and you add 1, 2 to it type thing in that type of sense. Or not 2, you take it times 2. So for the Cure Moderate, there's 2 in front of the D8 type thing times 2 for the Retro Sacred Healing. That should be 4. And this one's got 1 in front of it times 2 type thing in that type of sense. And that's equal to 2. So in that type of thing, this is an extra 2 on the D8 type thing, so that would be 10, and the rest of our bonuses. And the caster level, your cleric level, your ritual blessing, and sacred healing. Alright, this has been Tiger Isle Second City. I do apologize for throwing in a bunch of the naysaying demand in there type thing, because it really had nothing to do with building up the cleric casting type thing that means. Thanks for listening type thing. The main thing with these types of things, as much as doing math homework in an A, B, or C block type thing, is to get kind of practice, because there's a lot of chances to take this stuff out of what you see type thing and try to turn it into something else. A different answer type thing, a more convincing answer. But that was some math behind it here type thing in that type of sense. And here type thing, probably helped to underline it type thing in this type of sense. Well, I'm not going to underline that. So that's one right, whoops. That's one right there type thing in that type of sense. That's the one, and that's the one that's part of the sacred healing calculations. That's a D8 type thing. And then from that type thing, if you cover up the D, then there's nothing left of it type thing in that type of sense, and there's an 8 left over type thing. But you know, with some practice type thing, this will make more sense, and you'll have a chance to actually prove its point type thing that means. Well, thanks again for listening. This has been Chad Brown of Tiger Owl Second City and Dimming Block CH9 with some math and statistics in there. And in that type of sense, or a number line today, we didn't really look at a whole package type thing of whether or not if to use the block or not to block. Statistically, what's your probability of making a more efficient line was going to do, or more, in a case of a line, a heal bot in this case type thing. Okay, and we did kind of consider the 14 being removed type thing, because it would drop you to 28 instead of 42 as a chance. Now in that type of thing, if they roll a 4, 5, and a 6, that's 11 and 15 plus 18 type thing in that type of sense. And that's a 6 bonus type thing 3 times over. That's 18 plus 15 type thing, and that's 33. So they got 33 out of 48 that day type thing. Out of 42 out of the first level spell, so 38 divided by 42. And they got 78% of their roll out of that spell type thing with their bonus. But I'm not sure how much that matters compared to picking up 33 cure points at first level, but you get the idea. Some would say type thing that wasn't efficient enough. Yeah. So in that type of sense, that it raises your Q capability, what you deliver as a first level cleric. I mean, yeah, you can roll 8 type thing in that type of sense, but 8 is 25 behind 33 type thing that means. And that's 25 less curing delivered to the party. Not that they needed it being first striking, but it is an option type thing in that type of sense. One that's, I guess, less manly because it still fell 9 short. Max would be 42, and 42 minus 33 type thing in that type of sense is 9 off of that type thing. So they're technically 9 off of max type thing. But they still delivered, being that 9 off of max, 33 cures points to the group type thing in that type of sense. So it matters. It really matters type thing in that type of sense. With me, I could roll it type thing. I should roll them individually because they come over 3 standard actions with 3 rounds. Let's see here. Man. And those are probably crap or awesome rolls type thing. So let's get the first one type thing. That's a 6. And then still got to add 6 bonus type thing here. So let's go here. That's 6. And then I got to add my 6 bonus type thing of here. So that's 6. And that's going to be 12 on the first cure. Now the second cure type thing in that type of sense. Let's see what I'm going to roll here. Got plenty of pins type thing, but let's just pick that up here. Roll a different die, which should be the same die. Nope, there's our 1 type thing in that type of sense. That's 1, and rolled a 1, and add my 6 bonus there. And that makes it 1 plus 6 type thing. Whoops. And that should equal 1 again, because anything times 1 is equal to 1. That's 1 plus 6, and that equals 7. So that's 7 type thing in that type of sense. And the total for the day, I did 7 type thing that means. I did 19 type thing that means there. And then from here, I gotta roll 1 more time. And that's 7. I need to add 6 to it type thing in that type of sense. And that's 7 and 6. And, oops, sorry. That's 1 and 6 type thing here. There we go. And now in that type of thing, that's here. So our first roll we did 12, and our second roll we did 7 type thing. Okay, now our third roll type thing in that type of sense. As a first level cleric type thing here. And that's a 4. That's a 4. And that's here. And then I gotta add my 6 bonus to it type thing. I need a green peg here. And that is 4. And that's 10. So I rolled a 4, and I've got to add a 6 bonus to it, type thing in that type of sense, and that's 10. So my third roll was 10, type thing in that type of sense. And so my total of the day using first level spells, I can't change the 0 spells type thing in that type of sense. I think they're always going to do 4 unless other things happen to them because there's no random rule in them. So it's for my zeros I did 12, and for my first one type thing I did 12 plus 7, and that's 19. And I got another, that's 19, so I added those two together. Got one more to go, so I could add 10 to it type thing in that type of sense, and that's 29. So 29 plus 12 type thing in that type of sense. If I sacked all my zeros type thing, and that would give me 41 at first type thing in that type of sense. But I think your light spells in first type thing in that type of sense, and I think one of your resistance spells is in there type thing for a cleric. Not exactly sure on that. Okay, that's page 183. That's create water, cure minor wounds, detect magic, detect poison, guidance, +1 on attack roll, inflict. That's light, object shines like a torch, mending, purify food and drink, read magic, resistance, and +1 on saving throws, and virtues, subject gains 1 temporary hit point. Resistance is help type thing. Some people prefer true strike type thing in that type of sense. Guidance is kind of helped, and it says guidance +1 on attack rolls, saving throw, or skill check. So I would probably say guidance type thing. Inspired Competence is bigger, but it's later type thing for a bard, and kind of same for the aura of a paladin type thing, and it's a fear in that type of sense within 10 feet or 2 squares of them type thing in that type of sense. I don't think we do Hexagon anymore, or in Pathfinder. So anyway, that's exactly what's going on type thing. But light's a big one type thing, because I think you can put it on like coin or something like that, and then throw it into an area type thing, and it stays there. Caster level type thing in that type of sense, also difficult with it. Trying to answer everything in the book on it. That's M-N-O-P, A-B-C-D, E-F-G, H-I-J-K-L, L before M type thing in that type of sense. That's Magic Stone, Magic Jar. That's 248 type thing in that type of sense in the center. And 10 minutes per level, object touched is the target type thing in that type of sense. So spell causes an object to glow like a torch, shedding light, bright light in a 20-foot radius. So that's pretty amazing. That is pretty amazing. And so sometimes I don't use my zeros type thing in that type of sense. So in the day I only would have done 29. But that's okay. 29 cure is okay type thing in that type of sense. Yeah. At first level type thing. Party gains like what? Like 50, 100 experience, maybe 3, 500. They had 10% bonus or 30% bonus. They would gain 30. They gain the thing that they do type thing, so they gain 500 type thing in a type of sense, and then that's 500 times 0.30 type thing in a type of sense, which is 150. So now that's 30 divided by 100 type thing in that type of sense. That's 0.3 times 500 type thing in that type of sense, and that's 150. The 500 was what they originally received, and then the 150 is their bonus, and now they have 650 type thing. And then you turn back to page 22, and 650 is bigger than 1,000 type thing in that type of sense, and so they level to second level type thing in that type of sense. But they're not. They're short type thing, and that means so that's 1,000 type thing, which just is uncool. You did all that curing type thing and didn't even level, and you got 350 to go. So then at second level you do the same thing. You got 2 plus 1 there on your chart on page 31 type thing in that type of sense, and that's your domain. And let's see here, that's 2 plus 1 on page 31, and on page 8 your wisdom bonus, and that's 1 type thing in that type of sense. This is 3 type thing in that type of sense, 2 general ones plus a domain one, and that's 3 plus your bonus wisdom one type thing, and that would give you 4 spells type thing in that type of sense, or 4 cure lights. It's a d8 plus 6, a d8 plus 6, a d8 plus 6. If you had the extra turn of 10 or 12 type thing in that type of sense, then you could still do your sacred healing bump in that one too type thing, because it costs a turn attempt to do so, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4 spells and 4 turn attempts type thing. 3 plus a charisma of 12 type thing would give you a +1 modifier on it, and that's 3 plus 1, which is 3. So that's 3 plus 1 type thing, which is 4. Let me do that again. It's 3 plus 1 type thing in that type of sense, which is 4. So you would have 4 turns. So that's a turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4 type thing in that type of sense for your spells type thing in that type of sense. So it's 3 plus 1, that's 4. And that's now 48 type thing plus 24 type thing, that type of sense, as a second level cleric type thing, that type of sense. What's the second level? That's a 1,000 experience type thing. And that costs a round. That's round 1. That's round 2, round 3, or round 4. Whatever round that you kick it in type thing, because all those can't go in one round. But somebody could destroy your work in that time type thing, that type of sense. 48 type thing, that type of sense is like 8, 8, and 8 type thing. So the first roll type thing, that type of sense, is an 8. That's your first roll. And then your second roll type thing is, and let's go ahead and write an 8 there. And then your second roll is an 8. And then your third roll type thing, that type of sense, is an 8. And then your fourth roll is an 8 type thing, that type of sense. And so that's 4 times 8. So that's 4 times 8 type thing, that type of sense, which is equal to 32 type thing. Or you could put a d8 in each one type thing, that type of sense, and this will like double the number type thing. There. That's 8. That's 1 d8, 2 d8, 3 d8, and 4 d8 type thing, that type of sense. That's just 4 times 8. That's 32. It's the same answer. So it's 32 is equal to 4 times 8. And we didn't add the plus 24 to it type thing. So it's 32 plus 24 type thing, that type of sense. And that's 32 plus 24, and that's equal to 56. So you did 56 type thing in that type thing, that type of sense. And you add, that's your max type thing. So 56 max goes on top. You roll 41 out of 56 type thing, so you did max type thing, that type of sense. And that was 2-party type thing. And then you can add on your 12 zeros type thing if you convert them type thing, that type of sense. But if you want to add your 12, then you would have done 68. But I probably want to add my zeros on, because I still think that gives the cleric a little bit of selection type thing to give out guidance or light or something like that in that type of sense, while still curing the party. Did cost them, but you can spontaneously cure as a cleric if you don't use them type thing in that type of sense. Still have that option. Yes, as long as they're still within your memory. If there's nothing in the, you're like, okay, that's my first level spell of spontaneous, and I already cast it, that cure type thing, so that cure minor, so it's okay for that to, I can still cast from that spot type thing in that type of sense, but there's nothing there yet. And I think you still have to have something in memory, and then sack your memory to, then instead of using what you're going to intendedly use your memory for, then now you can use it type thing in that type of sense. So as soon as you check mark one type thing, as long as there's something in there type thing, and you didn't put a check mark in there type thing, that you can still use that, and instead an arrow that, instead of light type thing in that type of sense, you're going to check mark that type thing in that type of sense for cure minor type thing in that type of thing. And now you can go back to the light one type thing in that type of sense. But that would be 2 spells type thing. And so in that type of thing, you sacked all your cure minors type thing, and you did 3 of them type thing in that type of sense, or 4 if you get an extra one by that point. And now I can keep doing 4 lights type thing in that type of sense, and that's 8 spells type thing in that type of sense. So you have to sack it from a memory thing, but I'll get into that later. But thanks for listening type thing to 1d8 plus 1, the Lunar Orbs, Dimming Sage Block 9, and Tiger Isle Second City. Thanks for listening, and have a great one.